I'm going to take you through the homework policy for all pupils at Bishop Gorse School. A new strategy was introduced in September 2019. For all year groups, homework consists of revision or classwork or coursework preparation. This new strategy continues at Bishop Gorse School today. The revision homework is called independent revision, and it is for all pupils across all their subjects. The independent revision is based on all the lessons that have taken place that day. I want to take you through this picture that explains the links between learning and memory. Let's have a look at number 1. It says that human memory is not the same as a tape recorder. Learning is stored by connecting with prior learning. So the more memories we're given, the more ways we have to store additional learning. So that means the more you know, the easier it is for your brain to store more information because it makes links with what you already know. Number 2, new learning. New learning is interpreted and stored through links with prior learning. And then prior learning, recalling or retrieving learning changes the way in which it is stored. If we look at number 3, there are 2 types of memory strength. Retrieval strength, how easy it is to recall something now, and storage strength, how deeply embedded something is in the memory. Recalling and memory results in improvements in both storage and retrieval strength. If we have a look at the diagram, let's have a think about storage strength and retrieval strength. Okay, let's have a think about things which you could remember easily and which you might not remember so easy. So, if I'm thinking about my current phone number, I can reel that off numerous times of the day, even my mobile phone number. That means I have high retrieval strength. I'm highly able to retrieve it. And I have high storage strength. If I think about my childhood phone number, well, with a bit of prompting, I can get it back. That takes high storage strength because it is in there somewhere, but low retrieval strength. It's not so easy to get it back, but sometimes a prompt will get it back quite quickly. Then let's think about if I'm staying in a hotel room, if I'm on holiday. Whenever I'm on holiday, I can remember my current hotel room number easily. So that has high retrieval strength and low storage strength. I'm not actually retaining it at all. But when I come away from that holiday, and maybe a year later have to retrieve that hotel room number, I can never remember it. So that has low retrieval strength and low storage strength. So going back to the 4 examples, I'm able to store my current mobile phone number because I use it regularly all the time and I retrieve it all the time. It is stored and I want to remember it. I want it to be in my brain. My phone number from childhood, I can remember that if I'm prompted because I used it lots of time years and years ago. So it is stored in there, it has high storage strength. But because I haven't thought about that phone number for a long time, then low retrieval strength. If I think about being on holiday, when I'm on holiday, I have high retrieval strength for my hotel room number, but I'm not making it important enough for me to store it for a long time because I know I'm only going to need it for a few days or a week. So I can remember it when I'm there, but then a year later, I'll have low retrieval strength. I won't be able to retrieve it and low storage strength. So what implications does that have for teaching? So, does learning feel easy? Well, learning will be easy if your information is well stored, high storage strength, like my current mobile number. Learning will be easy if I've just studied it. So that means that I've just got it there, low storage strength. So we should leave some time before we need to try and recall it. So we should have testing a few lessons later. If learning doesn't feel easy, then it can be difficult to recall learning, and it means that we need to build storage strength. So we need to improve the storage that we've got. Restudy that learning that we couldn't recall. If we restudy it a number of times, then that will make sure that we can recall it next time. So this whole work on memory, retrieval and storage is why we have the new homework strategy. After a small amount of work has been covered in your lesson, you as pupils will be given a low stakes quiz. There's huge amounts of research that say the more you are tested on something, the more you remember it. This quiz will test how much of the work you have mastered and committed to memory. This low stakes quiz may vary in duration but should be no longer than 30 minutes. The low stakes quiz will be self-assessed or peer assessed in the lesson and will generally be at the start of your next lesson. Pupils will correct your answers and the teacher will gather feedback to inform their planning. No scores are monitored, tracked or recorded. That makes it a low stakes quiz. The aim is that you as pupils enjoy the competitive nature of the test without any anxiety. In contrast, your teacher might set you a high stakes quiz or test a few weeks later, and that will be in accordance with your scheme of work. The results of the high stakes tests are recorded and used for awarding progress grades. So why do we feel we should test? So these are the 10 benefits of testing. The test, in effect, is a retrieval aid and it helps you to retain something, so it embeds it into your long-term memory. Testing will identify to you as pupils what you do and don't know. Testing causes you to learn more from the next study episode. Testing helps you to be better organised and to organise your knowledge in your brain. Testing improves transfer of knowledge to new contexts. So when you learn something new, you are able to transfer something you've learned previously because you've been tested on it. And so on. There are other things there you can have a look at. So, when you are given your homework, it is now called independent revision. You will have a low stakes quiz following your lesson, testing how much of that independent revision you have committed to memory and whether the work covered in the previous lesson has been mastered. Your revision will then be evenly spaced, as it's just determined by the timetable of the lessons you've had that day. So your school timetable is your homework timetable. A copy of your homework timetable is in the front of your subject book or planner. So your parents will now know what homework is there for that night by the subjects that you studied that day. So this is important if you're absent from school for a day or two or longer term, so that you see the importance of copying up and you know exactly what revision you need. So what benefit does this new strategy have for pupils at school? Research tells us that pupils' application of cognitive psychology will reinvigorate their attitude towards school. So that's saying that using your brain more in school and at home will just make you happier in school because you will be more focused on your studies. It makes pupils resilient and independent. Resilience is how tough you are, how hard you can work, and how good you are at accessing your work without help from your teachers. This is really important for year 10 and 11. It reduces anxiety and mental health issues around work-related stress in years 10, 11 and further on, because you're more prepared for the demands of GCSE revision. And therefore, you're more prepared for external examinations. If we get our revision right at the start of year 7 and year 8 and year 9 and so on, then we know that by the time we come to any exams we have to sit, we will be used to revising. We will know what works for us. We will be in that routine of revising every day. And we'll also have remembered so much more because we've been revising for years and years at school. So for your parents don't have to support you as much with your homework because you shouldn't find it too difficult because you've just had a lesson that day on it. You can be more independent and less reliant on your parents. You're able to just revisit a lesson that you were taught that day. Your parents now have a structure to follow for your homework, and your parents don't have to train you in revision techniques just before your GCSEs. So all of this will help at home. You're not relying on your parents. It's not causing you stress at home. You simply go home at the end of the day from school and just sit down and do a summary of what you did in each lesson that you studied that day. All of you should be able to access that. It should be nice and straightforward, nice and simple, and just gets you into a routine every day. So you just spend an hour or so when you get home just going back through every lesson. So let me show you some examples of how you can do your knowledge retrieval and your independent revision. So I've got an example here called a brain dump. Now we might call it a mind map. So you can draw a picture, create a mind map on everything you know on a topic. I'm going to go down to the yellow. You can make flashcards that have little hints and tips and little bits of information, and you could even test yourself by turning the cards over. You could then, if I go to the purple, make yourself a knowledge organiser. So you've got the topic, definition, picture, examples, and so on. And then you could create yourself a quiz with practice questions. And then you could answer them and check that you've understood. This is another grid that might help you with your independent revision. And this came from the history department. They gave some suggestions for their pupils in what they could do in terms of independent revision. So they said, create a timeline or a fact file or a storyboard or a revision grid or revision cards, which is what we've talked about earlier, or a chatterbox, chunk it, etc. So there's lots of examples on here that you can use to summarise what you learned in the previous lesson. This is from the English department. They said you could actually draw a storyboard and draw pictures that go with it, because actually pictures help you to remember things better. So actually drawing a picture or having an image that's related to what you need to learn is really helpful. The English department then came up with these summarise cards, and summarising and just following these 6 points is helpful in how to write a summary card. And here's an example of a fact file from English with lots of different examples on there. Here's an example of some revision cards with definitions of what metaphor, simile, onomatopoeia, personification, hyperbole, alliteration and idiom mean. So you've got the name or the phrase and then you've got the definition. Then alphabet spaghetti, an A to Z of important pieces of information about the subject you are studying. So you write all the letters from A to Z and try to come up with a fact file that goes through it and record it with audio so that you can remember it. Here are some examples of pupils, previous pupils and their mind maps so that you can see what they look like. And then a hexagon focus, so writing in the centre of the topic what you need to revise, and around the side putting 6 key things you need to remember. So all of these are really good examples of mind maps, testing, timelines, etc. And 100 words, put down all that you know about a topic in 100 words. There's another example there. A lotus diagram is really similar to a mind map, but a bit more structured. And this just means that you put down all the themes in a diagram methodically so that you can see what the topic is all about. And this one is for a book in English literature called An Inspector Calls. So to summarise, so I'm using the revision technique that I've been talking about all the way through this presentation. So what is independent revision? What should we be doing as pupils at Bishop Gore School? So every day we should go home and summarise what we've done in each of our lessons that day. As some of you might be thinking, what? But this is so important. Your teachers have taught you well that day. Go home and revise it. How do you revise it? Use mind maps, revision cards, knowledge organisers, tests to help you remember what you have studied. Next lesson, at the beginning of the lesson, your teacher should give you a low stakes quiz to check how much you've remembered. So get used to revising every day. It will boost your memory and help you in school. It will help you to enjoy school more because you will remember things more and you will access any future learning far more easily. Enjoy learning, enjoy school, enjoy being at our wonderful school, Bishop Gorse School. Thank you very much.